coming at you from the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. About to jump on a plane to Chicago. We are in a phone room here in the Centurion Lounge, so making the most of getting to the airport early. Mostly just wanted to get this done before I get on the flight so I'll have something to do. Obviously I'm a little disappointed not holding on to the win, but that's the way it goes. While we're still in Texas, I figured we could unpack the Pan Am's race. Here it is, the 2021 Pan Am Champs race recap. So we flew in on Thursday, checked out the course on Friday. The course itself is at the same venue that the Resolution Cup has always been held. I raced that back in 2015, so it's been a minute since I've been to Resolution Cup. The course is laid out on this kind of like sloping field area. There's a little bit of a woods section on either side of the field, and they utilize it really well. So in the one side we have like pretty tight up and down. They have two what they're calling walls, which are really steep kind of efforts, and in our race most everybody was riding them, but on the second wall there was an opportunity to mess up, so if you were playing it safe you would run it. And then in the second woods section it was pretty much just single track, lots of roots in there, so it was really only one line through there. So off the start you hit a sand pit pretty quick, and then it's right into the woods section, so the start was pretty crucial to not get behind any potential bottlenecks. So off the line I had an okay start. I would have liked to have been 2 or 3 wheels up. Scott McGill went whole shot, followed by Eric Bruner. Curtis was up there. Brennan Fix was up there. I was sitting like 4 or 5 wheels back. Luckily, everybody rode the sand pit okay, and then we came into the first wood section, and it went fairly smooth. Everybody rode up the first wall, no problem, and then on the second wall, Brandon had a little bobble in front of me, but I kind of anticipated this, and I got off my bike and ran around it, so there wasn't huge gaps happening on the first lap. We came out of the wood section and into the field, and there was just a big, long drag straight up the kind of incline through the center of the field before we flipped it and came back down through pit 2. And then we climbed back up, hit the barriers, traversed across the field and over into that second wood section before doing a U-turn onto the pavement and coming through lap 1. Had a pretty big group on lap 1. There was not a whole lot of separation. I thought there would be bigger separations just because of the wood section, but all the wide open pedaling in the middle. So on lap 2 I jumped to the front thinking maybe I could create a little bit of separation and maybe make the race a bit more punchy to kind of suit my riding style. And I went through the sand and then hit the wood section in the front. There just wasn't a ton of power to be laid down in the wood section, and there was a speed limit. Being earlier in the race, everybody was still fresh, and I think everybody could handle that speed limit, so I didn't really get much separation, and we all came into the field kind of together again. At which point, Bruner came around to the front and kind of started to twist the screws right there halfway through lap 2. He came to the front across pit 2 and up the hill to the barriers, and then he just started to push it a little bit. There was a climb out of the second wood section up towards the start-finish pavement, and he really pushed it. He came onto the start straight U-turn, and he had gapped me a bit. Curtis was behind me, jumped around me, and I kind of used that as a way to bridge back up there. So coming into lap 3, Bruner, Curtis, and me kind of hit the sand pit like a little staggered. I didn't have a bobble in the sand pit, but I got hung up in the end and came out with a bit of a gap, and that was about the end of the race for me, at least at the front. Bruner and Curtis rode away, and I was just kind of back there 5 seconds back after the sand pit, and it just grew from there. Then I was by myself just in time trial mode. I had Tobin and Lance and Scott McGill chasing me down. All the while I was trying to mitigate time on Bruner and Curtis just in case something happened, a flat or whatever. Bruner must have poured some more power onto Curtis, because in that same lap he had gapped Curtis through the woods, and From then on, Bruner was off the front by himself, gap back to Curtis, gap back to me, gap back to the chasers behind me. So it was kind of a boring race. This course lended itself to somebody that could put out high power for longer amounts of time. In terms of power, I did have a power meter on my bike. At the end of the race, I ended up having my second best 60-minute power of the year. Cross race, which is kind of impressive. Just goes to show how much pedaling we were doing and how consistently we were pedaling at a high power. Once I was by myself, about halfway through the race, Scott and Lance started to get together and work at me. At first, I was excited that they got together because neither one of them wanted to work especially hard to pull me back. After a few laps of that, I gained a bit of a cushion, and then once the end of the race came, they started to work together and really started to close it down. They kept creeping on me. Emily was on the side of the course yelling at me the whole time. At one point, I think Scott attacked Lance over the barriers with 2 laps to go and really brought the gap down to me when he did that, and brought it down to like 6 seconds.
Again, it is Scotty McGill, and I gotta tell you, I don't know for sure, but it looks like they're starting to close that.
So I started to get a little worried. I was saving a little bit for that last lap with this anticipation that they might come back to get me. I pushed it really hard from the start finish into the woods. Luckily, I think Scott was seeing red a bit more than I was, and I was able to put a handful of seconds on him in the woods, which meant I came out into the open field with enough of a gap that I just had to ride really smooth and steady to get to the finish, to hold down the last spot on the podium. It ended up Bruner, Curtis, and me for the 2021 Pan Am Champs. Obviously, I'm a little bummed to not be able to defend the title. We've got another Jersey race coming up on Sunday, Nationals, the big one. While I know that Continental Champs is more important in the eyes of the UCI, at least in terms of points, because it is a multi-country kind of national championships. The Nationals always holds a certain amount of prestige that kind of trumps the Continental Champs, at least on the America's side of things. So all eyes on Sunday. We'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching.